Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show, Colorado Business News. This is part 2 of our 2-part series with 3 members of the General Assembly. We've been talking about a number of different issues, but none specifically focused on business. So I'm going to start with Linda Newell, State Senator. Talk a little bit about what we can do, what the General Assembly and state government can do to help businesses in Colorado. And then we'll have our other guests from the State Senate and the State House join in as well.
Great. I am thrilled to say, first, I come from the private sector, so I absolutely in human resources. So one of the unique perspectives that I bring to the Senate is both the perspective from the employer and the employee side. So with that, it is important to have that balance of the employee-employer. And one of the things in the legislature that we need to do is make sure we are not disturbing the businesses who are doing well and that we're staying out of their way, but we are also assisting those who might just need resources of information, of connections, of networking. Governor Hickenlooper's done a great job in his administration through that. One of the things too that I think that we should all suggest with businesses is to collaborate with us, paying attention to what's going on in the legislature, helping us with solutions for that, because as we just discussed, mental health can absolutely affect businesses. Domestic violence is another one. The female murder, murder is the #1 cause for death in the workplace for females.
Okay, so
I think we just need to collaborate more with the businesses.
So, Senator Beth Martinez-Humanek, tell me a little bit about what you think the General Assembly can do. What is the proper role, really, of government when it comes to this? Because certainly everyone's always talking about it's the economy and creating jobs, and it seems to be the reality is the national economy really dictates a lot of what happens in Colorado, both good and bad.
Well, one of the good things with regards to Colorado is that we kind of held our own during the recessionary period, and that was because of the communities and their businesses that were within the communities. One of the things that I've heard for quite some time is that Colorado is not a business-friendly place, and we really need to work on changing that. And as Senator Newell said, government getting out of the way is one of them, the positives that could happen. But we do need to hear from the business owners. They want to be a lot more involved than we've actually even asked them to be in the past. And for example, I'll give you the Pay for Success bill that came through that gives business owners and business organizations an opportunity to invest in early childhood education. And if it's successful, then they will be reimbursed for their initial investment. If not, then they invested in something that didn't work. And currently the governor is working, his office should be working in the next year on getting the parameters set up for that. But what I hear from business people is, let us do our businesses. Don't put forth a lot of red tape and just kind of stay out of our way and let us do the things that we need to do. And I think that there's a big push by the governor as well as legislators to try to get more businesses involved in our communities, because I've always said the businesses that you have, supporting them in your own community helps Colorado. It helps your community, but it also helps all of us in the long run. So I do think that we need to listen when the business owners come forward, but we also need for them to come forward so that we actually know that there is an issue that they might need to have addressed.
Okay, I want Joanne to speak. We've had 2 members of the Senate dominating the conversation from the House. Joanne Windholtz, give me your take on this.
Well, one bill that went through and was signed is the work development bill, and basically because we have a shortage in this state of good trained folks in the trades, and this brings education and businesses together. It will be operated out of the Department of Labor, which has far more contacts with the business side and what's going on and what their needs are. So we're very, very encouraged that that's going to continue. One thing that has hurt business, and especially in the construction, and whether it's a red flag or not, but it's the marijuana to get folks that can pass the test in order to handle this equipment. The company my husband works for, they said, you do great, we'd love to have you. Come back in 3 weeks, and if you can pass the drug test, we'll hire you.
So construction companies are losing the opportunity, you're saying, to hire a lot of people because when they test for drugs, a lot of people are testing positive for marijuana.
It doesn't go out of your system like alcohol fast as quickly as alcohol does. And so it's a big issue. And it's one that I don't know, I really don't know how they're going to business is going to handle it. But that work development, getting the kids to think outside of the box, and not everybody has to go to college, and that there is sometimes a good six-figure incomes coming out of the trades.
Well, there are a lot of kids graduating from college who are having a real problem finding jobs as well. Linda, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to add one thing, that in almost every metric, Colorado is in the top 5 states in the country when it comes to economic development and job development. And that has happened over my tenure in the Senate. I have seen it year after year. We have done better for the business climate, and I think the local businesses would agree. We're doing something right.
One of the issues that keeps coming back and forth, one of my pet peeves from a business perspective, is the personal property tax, where I think everyone has agreed, all the studies show the cost to businesses of complying with the tax greatly outweighs the amount of revenue generated. What's the solution to that? Is that something that Democrats and Republicans can get together and get rid of and substitute something to backfill that revenue? What's your take, Joanne?
Well, personal property tax, that's where a lot of our education funding and that comes from. In some instances, the amount of tax collected in that has been too low. And some of the counties, those folks are going, they're getting their bills and they're going, oh my word. And so it really needs to be looked at and determined what the value and home ownership and all of that is the taxes on property for education. That's what pays for it. So I don't know what's going to backfill it. I really don't.
All right, Beth, what's your 2 cents on this?
Well, coming from a municipal background, we had a lot of people in the business community that didn't like the personal property tax either. And they said it actually inhibited them being able to either hire more employees or get new equipment because they were having to budget in that tax. And what some cities are doing now is they're actually offering other solutions to help businesses attain their goals, and are working with the local governments to try to do that. And I think that that's going to be very important because those taxes are going into a fund that are actually being utilized for these various different programs that people still want to continue to see, but somebody has to fund them. There's no free lunch here. Yep. So I do think that that's part of our challenge. But we still need to continue to work with the business community. But you're right, I have heard some very negative responses as to why we have to do this. And it's sort of like funding education to public schools. You've got those taxes that come out as well. Did your kids at one point in time go to public school? And a lot of people are homeschooling now, but you're paying it forward by helping pay those taxes for education.
All right, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
Hi, I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. For information about the program, who our upcoming guests and topics are, and ways you can participate, please go to our website. That's harbertv.com. And most of all, thanks for watching.
I'm Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland.
Hi, I'm Jim Cameron, Director of Avatar.
I'm Christina Johnson, former Undersecretary of Energy.
Hi, I'm Oliver Stone.
Hi, I'm Mike Peters. I'm the creator of Mother Goose and Grimm.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
I would encourage you to watch The Aaron Harber Show. It's good fun.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show because he's a really cool guy.
Please watch The Aaron Harber Show, on which I do appear.
I want you to watch The Aaron Harber Show. Grimmy watches it every day.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter and find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Your opinions, ideas, suggestions, and criticisms related to guests, topics, questions, or the host are welcome. Please send an email to producer@harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show. This is part 2 of our special 2-part series with 3 members of the General Assembly, which all of them happen to be women, which is, and we've talked about the positive influence of women in the General Assembly. Let's talk about some of the bigger issues that always seem to be on the table and then nothing seems much to happen. One is the whole discussion about constitutional conflicts, where you have Tabor, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, you have the Gallagher Amendment, you have Amendment 23 for K through 12 education, and other issues as well. So, Linda, is there really a serious problem here? Not much seems to have been done, so I'm not sure if citizens really consider this a problem or not.
I think you're right. I think citizens aren't aware, I don't want to say all citizens, but many citizens aren't aware of our fiscal knot in our Constitution. And whether you like any 3 of the components you mentioned or whether you don't, we need to do something about it. We are the only state in the country where you can be in deficit and surplus at the same time. And we are hitting up against our Tabor limits now, and we're being sued for not education funding. So we really do need to have this come from the citizens. It needs to come from a bipartisan, public-private collaborative. It needs to come from people from across the state. It can't come from the legislature anymore because it's in our Constitution. It has to be balloted at 1 or more ballot initiatives. So the citizens have to care. Once they stop seeing any services that are going to come out of us for a while, or when they see more problems with our education, transportation, infrastructure, then maybe they'll get the idea. But until that time, I think it's our responsibility to keep educating our constituents at our town halls, through our conversations. We have a problem that we need to fix.
What's your take on this, Beth? I could tell you have a few things to say.
Well, the citizens of the state of Colorado actually voted for these measures. And so unless they weigh in differently, things are not going to change with regards to the laws that are already on the books. And the people that voted at the time felt that that was what was best for Colorado. Does it present challenges? Sure. But I think we've been trying to work around those. And we have an excellent team on our JBC committee that has done extensive work on looking at everything to try to make the best recommendations for when the long bill comes out as possible. Now, is everybody happy with those recommendations? No. But
now, when JBC, of course, the Joint Budget Committee, which is half from the House, half from the Senate.
It's a bipartisan committee, and they have been working very well together in my personal estimation, and I have a lot of respect for the work that they do, because theirs is a year-round job, and they are constantly working on things and reviewing things.
And the long bill, of course, the budget for the state.
Correct. So I always encourage residents and citizens to also become more engaged, to learn more about how their government works. And I think because there is a lack of understanding, that may be why people don't trust people that are in government or government as a whole. There is more trust for local governments than the state government, with the federal government being last. And I think we do need to change that, because they have elected us to serve them and to try to do what is best for the state of Colorado. But they need to weigh in differently. They're the ones who voted to have these laws on the books, and until those are repealed or something has changed, that is how the General Assembly has to operate.
One of the interesting aspects of Tabor, of course, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which was passed in, I think, 1992, is that it contained a lot of different provisions, a lot of a number of changes on a vast array of subjects, and so there was one of the backlashes that occurred was the idea that, well, we can't have these ballot proposals which incorporate so many different issues at the same time. And the rule that was passed was that ballot issues have to address a single subject. But by doing that, and this was, I think, proposed mainly by people who were opponents of Tabor, but didn't they kind of really make a mistake in that to correct Tabor if you think Tabor needed or needs to be amended? Now, the people who think Tabor needs to be amended are stuck with this kind of paradoxical situation where they cannot propose an omnibus bill that addresses multiple issues. They have to potentially propose ballot issues, a dozen different ballot issues. Did they, were they hoisted by their own petard, so to speak?
In a way, yes, very much, because it. But the one thing it does do, though, it keeps the focus on an issue at that time that's of when it gets to the Constitution of the state. It's people have to pay attention, and when a lot of people fear that things are so convoluted, but when it's a one issue, I think it does help the people learn and educate themselves.
Do you think when you consider the state budget, I mean, there are certainly people who believe we need more resources to address some of the key issues we've discussed. There are other people who think that we could, using the amount of money we collect already, with approximately ultimately $23 billion budget, including state funding and federal funding, that there are ways we can do things more effectively, more efficiently, which would allow us to find resources to do some of the other, achieve some of the other goals we have. Where's your thinking on that, Linda? And I'll ask each of you, can we do more and be more effective and more efficient with what we already have without raising taxes?
Well, first of all, we can't. We're not allowed to raise taxes in the legislature in our state. But yes, we have done a great job of every year. I always look for things I can repeal or things that I can tweak, pieces of statute that are outmoded and delete those. And Governor Hickenlooper's administration has been able to reduce many of the red tape bureaucracy type of issues. Over 800 rules were eliminated since he came into office, for instance. And we in the legislature supported him and helped statutorily how to do that.
And that was pretty much bipartisan support.
Absolutely. It is a bipartisan issue. So I think one thing is people are not aware that we are doing this every year. We are making tweaks every year to make things more efficient.
Well, maybe you need to have a better publicist or something. I'm not sure.
Well, and I did want to say one quick thing. It's also another challenge for us. We are one of the top fastest growing states in the country. That's more population to deal with. We've got the marijuana issue, which has also brought people in to the state as well. And so we need to look at how can you grow and keep tax rates the exact same time? I mean, our 1992 gas tax rate, how can you sustain that when you have twice as many people in your state?
All right, when we come back in our final segment, let's talk about that, because a couple of you have mentioned in our two programs transportation, and let's talk about what are our transportation needs and how do we fund them in a state that's grown as much as Colorado has. So we'll be right back for our final segment on Colorado Business News.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
Hi, I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. For information about the program, who our upcoming guests and topics are, and ways you can participate, please go to our website. That's harbertv.com. And most of all, thanks for watching.
I'm Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland.
Hi, I'm Jim Cameron, Director of Avatar.
I'm Christina Johnson, former Undersecretary of Energy.
Hi, I'm Oliver Stone.
Hi, I'm Mike Peters. I'm the creator of Mother Goose and Grimm.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
I would encourage you to watch the Aaron Harber Show. It's good fun.
Watch the Aaron Harber Show because he's a really cool guy.
Please watch The Aaron Harber Show, on which I do appear.
I want you to watch the Aaron Harber Show. Grimmy watches it every day.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter and find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Your opinions, ideas, suggestions, and criticisms related to guests, topics, questions, or the host are welcome. Please send an email to producer@harbortv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. We depend on contributions to support our work to bring you some of the nation's and world's top opinion leaders. Individuals, businesses, foundations, and other nonprofits make tax-deductible contributions to the Democracy and Media Education Foundation to allow us to work for you. To find out more or to make a donation, please go to dmefd.org. Thanks for watching the show and for your support. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter and find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Your opinions, ideas, suggestions, and criticisms related to guests, topics, questions, or the host are welcome. Please send an email to producer@harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show, our final segment in our two-part series. So one of the issues I wanted to talk about that you all had referenced was transportation. And a number of studies have been done. The state of Colorado roads is not exactly ideal. I think there have been estimates as high as something like $10 billion worth of maintenance needs to be done on roads and bridges. Number one, why haven't we done that, Beth? And I'd like to ask, why hasn't the General Assembly made the case to people that our gasoline tax, which hasn't been raised in years, maybe we should take a look at that, or is that not a good idea?
Well, the gasoline tax is slowly diminishing. We've got better fuel-efficient cars, we've got electric vehicles. These are all vehicles that are still putting tension on our roads, and they weigh the same, but the gas tax has actually gone down. And I don't think that there's a lot of support for raising that particular tax and seeing it be sustainable long-term. I don't think it's just a statewide thing. I think the federal government has been looking at that as well. We do have some huge infrastructure needs in the state of Colorado. We should have been working on these for the past 50 years, and that's not something that was a priority for the state, and we're not alone. That's something that's going on across the country. I have a little bit of concern when you have a Colorado Department of Transportation who is looking to do bonds for new buildings rather than trying to figure out some of our infrastructure issues.
Okay, you're talking about the CDOT, the Colorado Department of Transportation's plan to spend approximately $150 million for new offices to consolidate their current office situation, I assume.
Consolidation, new buildings, because they're not all in the same location.
So is it fair to say that maybe they should put up with that discomfort and use that $150 million to repair some bridges and roads? And Linda, you're disagreeing with me.
I do, because the problem and the reason why we haven't addressed that, at least since I've been there, we have tried many different things. But the problem is that when you do only have one pot of money, and you're faced with priorities. Are you going to save a child's life? Are you going to are you going to pay for those prisoners who are in our prisons, or just starve them? What are you going to do with those dollars? Those are the issues that we are faced with. And so almost every year we see transportation funding going by the wayside. So it is a problem, and we do need to create public-private solutions.
And we are working, Colorado has started doing public-private partnerships, and I think that is going to be the wave of the future, actually.
You're talking about, for example, a number of the HOV lanes, the tolling lanes, and things like that, which aren't terribly popular, but I guess the state doesn't feel it has any alternative.
They're not terribly popular. However, people who move in from the East Coast are used to those. So That is not something that they are struggling with. Colorado's not had these predominantly in the past. But what folks need to remember is that somewhere we've got to find the funding for these. And if you can do a public-private partnership, which is how the Regional Transportation District was also able to complete some of the Fast Tracks lines, that is something that we're going to have to do. There's going to have to be more of the private sector coming in to help the public sector. And I disagree just a bit with Senator Newell in that when you have unsafe roads and you've got families traveling those roads, that is a detriment to those families and those kids as well. And we've had a lot of bicyclists as well complain about the state of the roads. And local communities just don't have it in the budget to be able to fix things in a grand scale. They have to piecemeal things. And so it is becoming one of the bigger topics of conversation with constituents. Why aren't you fixing the roads? This bridge is terrible. There's a rating system that the Colorado Department of Transportation uses for bridges, and so they have been working on the ones that have the worst ratings. However, when you look at the growing population, this is of concern.
Well, and also, I mean, you have businesses that need to have employees get back and forth to work. They need to transport goods. They need to get goods to the businesses. They need to deliver product. I would think the business community is very concerned about the state of our roads. And I would think that, I mean, given the fact, and I'm going to go back to the gasoline tax as an example. I mean, to me, if you're driving a car, you're buying gasoline, it was almost $4 a gallon. Now we're down to getting close to $2 a gallon. I mean, if I were to pay another 10 cents a gallon, I don't think it would have a huge impact on most people who drive. And if that generated another, whatever it is, $300 million a year for roads and bridges, I would think that could create a huge advantage for the state, especially from an economic development perspective. Joanne?
Well, I was going to say, too, another thing that our roads have taken because of the expansion, because of our growth, is the trucks. And not just freight, but dump trucks and all of this. And I know they pay a very large tax in order, but that has hastened our road decomposition, basically. And something else, too, is our rural our roads and that out there, and the blacktops and the gravel roads that don't get maintained. Now, a lot of that's county, but that all plays into this whole picture of transportation and farming equipment, moving product. And I would love to see our trains come back far stronger than what they have, because you see these trains with all these boxcars, I mean these truck on them, and then so it's there is no one piece, and raising the gasoline tax, that will help, but I don't know if our folks are willing to do that.
All right, we have 30 seconds left. I'm going to give you a quick 15-second final comment, Beth, and then Linda.
Well, until you've actually sat in our seats and walked in our shoes, I don't think the people in Colorado really know. Some of them do, but a lot of them do not. They just carry on with their daily lives, expecting us to do what's right and expecting us to do the things that are good for not only them and their families, but the state.
All right, you have 10 seconds, Linda. What's your final comment?
This is a business show, and I do want to say thank you to all of those companies out there who are doing their best to continue our economic successes that we have had.
All right, well, I want to thank my guests. This is Aaron Harber. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.